Every gamer's been there at least a few times. Up against a boss that's so difficult, it seems like the developers must have made some kind of mistake. It can't really be that strong, can it? Did I miss something? How am I supposed to beat this monstrosity? Usually we try a couple of times, figure it out, and move on to the next part of the game without much fuss. But sometimes, the boss really is that tough, and we didn't miss anything. It might be an optional super boss, or just a regular boss that takes a particularly difficult strategy to beat. Either way, these are the fights that leave us frustrated, make us better players, and thrill us when we finally win, the truly tough ones. Here are 10 video game bosses who are almost unbeatable. George Romero, Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies. Generally speaking, Call of Duty isn't big on boss fights, but the popular Zombies gameplay mode from the Call of Duty Black Ops sub-series loves them, and no boss in Black Ops Zombies is as loved or as feared as the nigh unstoppable George Romero. For those who don't know, George Romero is the creative mind behind the revolutionary horror movie Night of the Living Dead. There's nobody else who's done more to define the modern concept of zombies, so it's fitting that he pops up here. In-game, George is almost unstoppable. He's so difficult that many players over the years have gone online to ask if it's even possible to beat him. It is, but trying it, it's easy to see why many people would think otherwise. Alma, Assassin's Creed. The Assassin's Creed series isn't known for its exceptionally difficult boss fights. In the original game, most bosses could be laid low by Altair's plain old ordinary throwing knives of all things. Nevertheless, for gamers who don't know or don't choose to use the throwing knife strategy, the game featured one boss in particular who was memorably difficult, Altair's former teacher, Al-Mualim. This fight is surprisingly tough due to the fact that several other enemies must also be defeated en route to the boss, whose powerful attack can then nearly kill the assassin in a single hit. Unbeatable? Not quite, but Al-Mualim is a tougher than expected foe who can easily embarrass sloppy players and force them to step up their game. Elizabeth, Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3. Japan's Shin Megami Tensei family of RPGs had its first big breakout moment in North America with Persona 3, a strange but addictive hybrid of dungeon crawling and social life simulator in which the bonds of trust and friendship players formed during the day strengthened their dungeon arsenal by night. Though not as hard overall as its cousin Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, Persona 3 does have one of the hardest optional boss fights of any JRPG to date, Elizabeth, the friend and guide of the main character for the entire duration of the game. She has no weaknesses, monumental stats, and a penchant for unnecessarily brutal counterattacks. It takes huge amounts of preparation and patience to even have a hope of defeating her, and even then, few players do. Absolute Virtue, Final Fantasy XI Online. The Final Fantasy series has no shortage of difficult bosses, from Final Fantasy X's underwater terror Shinryu to the recurring optional super boss known as Omega Weapon. But none of those come close to Final Fantasy XI's Absolute Virtue, the Final Fantasy super boss to end all super bosses. Absolute Virtue's monstrous HP regeneration while in combat originally made it so tough that players spent up to 30 hours at a time working together to try and beat it in shifts to no avail. That's right, even after more than a day of constant punishment, Absolute Virtue just wouldn't lay down and die. It was considered unbeatable for 3 full years after it was added to the game in 2005, until it was significantly weakened by Final Fantasy XI's development team. To this day, beating Absolute Virtue is a mark of honor in the game's community. Cthun, World of Warcraft. Never one to be left out of the party, the mega popular MMO World of Warcraft also once had its own almost unbeatable boss, just like its smaller cousin Final Fantasy XI. But where Final Fantasy's Absolute Virtue was a vaguely humanoid beast, WoW's big bad was much more of a Lovecraftian horror, a burning eye atop an ancient mass of tentacles named Cthun, who lurked in the depths of Ahn'Qiraj, waiting to send even the toughest players to their ignominious deaths. Back when Ahn'Qiraj was first released, Cthun was far and away the toughest enemy in the entire game. He remained unbeaten by even the most elite raiding guilds until a follow-up patch finally weakened him. Considering how dedicated and disciplined WoW's best raid players were at the time he was originally released, that's really saying something. Virgil, Devil May Cry 3. Devil May Cry 3 is full of tough boss fights. The first serious boss fight against Cerberus puts gamers in their place and teaches them that they'll have to get on another level if they want to proceed. Twin bosses Agni and Rudra have stopped many a player from progressing further. But fittingly, it's the game's final boss fight, Dante's third encounter with his brother Virgil, that turns out to be the toughest of them all. Virgil is fast, powerful, clever, and relentless, every bit Dante's equal and then some. He can and will block Dante's attacks, so learning to spot and exploit every opening is crucial, all while avoiding his strikes and being ready to switch strategies in a split second if the situation suddenly changes. It's a fitting capstone for one of the hardest 3D action-adventure games ever made. Ornstein and Smaug, Dark Souls. Dark Souls is full of pretty monstrous fights right from the get-go, so it takes a special kind of controller-breaking difficulty for one of those fights to stand head and shoulders above all the rest. The dual bosses Ornstein and Smaug offer just such a fight. Dragon Slayer Ornstein and Executioner Smaug are so well known and so dreaded that they're practically the game's unofficial mascots. Unlike most of the other boss fights in the game, this one has players dealing with two distinct enemies at once. And what's more, these aren't lumbering oafs. Both foes are seriously powerful and dangerous enough that they could have appeared as two totally separate fights and not seemed out of place. Finally managing to take out both of them at once is a rush that no Dark Souls fan ever forgets. The Joker, Batman Arkham Knight. It's all been building up to this. Batman's big showdown with the evil Joker at the end of Batman Arkham Knight. The Caped Crusader's nemesis is more than prepared for the battle, making it surprisingly tough. Especially when you consider that in any fair world, the fight would be over in just one punch. But the Joker never plays fair. It's up to players to set off just the right takedowns in order to bring this villain to justice. But that's harder than it sounds. It takes practice and finesse. Without those, it can very well drag on forever. No wonder people online sometimes refer to it as endless. Only gamers with true Arkham Knight skills can take this Joker down. Ultimate Alma, Ninja Gaiden Sigma. Nobody who knows anything about the Ninja Gaiden series expects easy or merciful boss fights, but even with that in mind, Ultimate Alma is a whole other ballgame. She brings the pain with vicious attacks that demand split-second timing and perfectly executed acrobats to avoid. She's also tough as nails. A few well-placed hits will barely even put a dent in her style. More than perhaps any other fight in the series, the fight against Ultimate Alma is the ultimate test of players' skill, determination, and reflexes. Sephiroth, Kingdom Hearts. Despite being the big bad, Sephiroth's kind of a pushover in Final Fantasy VII. A well-prepared player can lay him low in a few turns without really even trying. So it's nice that everyone's favorite JRPG villain got a chance to redeem himself years later in the Square Enix Disney crossover hit Kingdom Hearts. This time around, he's an optional boss. A good thing too, or lots of people who played the game might not have finished it. Sephiroth is mind-bogglingly powerful and boasts excellent defenses to boot. Anyone expecting the same kind of set-it-and-forget-it fight that capped off Final Fantasy VII is in for a rude awakening when they face down this one-winged angel in Kingdom Hearts Olympus Coliseum. And not to mention, unless you're playing the PAL release, you don't even get anything for this fight except for bragging rights. So, what are your favorite tough bosses? Which bad guys were you never able to defeat? Give this video a thumbs up and tell us your stories in the comments below. And remember to subscribe to CBR for more unbeatable videos about games, comics, movies, and more.